Seinen Dark, the anime style that's taking over 2025, and why you won't be able to stop watching. Think you've seen everything anime has to offer? Think again. In 2025, anime isn't just about flashy fights, school crushes, or overpowered heroes anymore. A new wave is sweeping through the industry, and it's not for the faint of heart. Welcome to the world of Seinen Dark, the emotionally intense and psychologically heavy anime style that's dominating screens across the globe. If you're tired of predictable plot lines and characters who never lose, this is the genre you've been waiting for. But be warned, once you step into the shadows, there's no going back. So, what exactly is Seinen Dark? The term seinen already refers to anime and manga aimed at a more mature audience, typically those over 18. It usually deals with deeper psychological themes, realistic violence, complex characters, and moral ambiguity. Now, add the word dark, and you get something even more intense. Seinen Dark isn't just mature anime. It's raw, brutal, and often emotionally devastating. It strips away the fantasy of invincibility and exposes the pain, fear, and trauma that exist underneath the surface. This isn't a coincidence. It's a direct response to how anime fans are evolving. The generation that grew up with Naruto, Bleach, and Fairy Tail is now older, and hungry for something with more weight. Something that reflects the chaos, conflict, and complexity of real life. And anime has answered that call with a vengeance. Just look at the rise of series like Chainsaw Man. At first glance, it seems like a wild, chaotic bloodbath. Chainsaws coming out of heads, devils exploding in gory battles, absurd humor. But behind the madness is a surprisingly deep emotional core. Denji, the main character, isn't chasing justice or glory. He just wants to eat good food and experience basic human connection. His simplicity makes his suffering all the more heartbreaking. Every time he gets close to happiness, the world pulls it away, piece by piece. Chainsaw Man is a story about loss, betrayal, and the aching emptiness of being used by others, and viewers can't stop watching. Then there's Jujutsu Kaisen, another pillar of Seinen Dark. While it technically straddles the line between shonen and seinen, its themes and tone lean heavily into darker territory. It's not just about exorcising curses, it's about the psychological toll that battle takes. Yuji Itadori is a kind-hearted teen thrust into a world of death and moral gray areas. He's constantly forced to question his beliefs, make impossible choices, and deal with the emotional consequences of killing. The fights are flashy, sure, but what makes them powerful is the meaning behind every blow. Each battle reveals something about the character's inner struggles, making victory feel like a burden rather than a reward. And we can't talk about this style without mentioning Attack on Titan. What began as a mystery-driven action anime about humans versus titans evolved into one of the most harrowing political thrillers and tragedies in anime history. As the series progressed, it blurred every moral line and flipped the narrative so many times that even longtime fans didn't know who to root for anymore. By the final season, Attack on Titan had fully embraced the ethos of Seinen Dark. No one is innocent, and every choice has a cost. It's not just a story of war. It's a mirror reflecting the worst and most painful aspects of humanity. But Seinen Dark isn't just about blood and tragedy. It's about confronting reality, no matter how ugly it is. It pulls you in with gorgeous animation and gripping plots, then hits you with questions that linger long after the credits roll. What does it mean to be human? Can revenge ever bring peace? Is there such a thing as a good person in a broken world? These shows don't give you easy answers, and that's exactly why they're so addicting. And let's not forget the production quality. In 2025, studios like MAPPA, Ufotable, and Studio Bones are pushing anime visuals to the next level. We're seeing film-quality episodes on a weekly basis, fluid fight scenes, cinematic lighting, and meticulous character expressions that elevate the emotional impact. In Jujutsu Kaisen, every battle is a visual feast, but also a storytelling device. In Chainsaw Man, the camera work feels like it belongs in a horror movie. These aren't just shows, they're experiences. Ones that demand to be seen on the biggest screen you can find. But the real genius of Seinen Dark lies in its emotional honesty. These stories don't pretend that everything will be okay. They don't protect their characters. In fact, they often break them, and force the audience to sit in that pain. They make you feel the weight of grief, guilt, and despair. And yet, somehow, they also offer glimmers of hope. Not the cheesy, power of friendship kind, but real hope. The kind that's earned after surviving the worst the world has to offer. That emotional depth is why this style resonates so strongly with today's viewers. We live in a world filled with uncertainty, political unrest, economic instability, global crises. Audiences want stories that acknowledge that darkness and show characters navigating it. They want to see how people break and how sometimes they manage to rebuild. And anime has stepped up to deliver that in spades. Interestingly, this style is also pulling in newcomers. You might think dark anime would scare away casual viewers, but the opposite is happening. People who never watched anime before are getting hooked by the intensity and realism of shows like Vinland Saga, Pluto, or Tokyo Revengers. These series feel grounded, mature, and emotionally gripping, even if they're set in fantastical worlds. They appeal to fans of live-action dramas, thrillers, and even Western series like Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones. And as the audience diversifies, the stories are getting bolder. Writers are no longer afraid to explore taboo topics: abuse, war crimes, mental illness, systemic corruption. Pluto, for instance, tackles artificial intelligence and the very nature of consciousness, wrapped in a murder mystery. Vinland Saga evolves from a tale of bloody Viking revenge into a philosophical journey about pacifism and the cycle of violence. These aren't just anime, they're literature in motion. So where is this all heading? If Seinen Dark is dominating in 2025, what does that say about the future of anime? One thing is clear: the medium is growing up. It is shedding its reputation as just cartoons and establishing itself as a legitimate form of adult storytelling. We're entering an era where anime isn't afraid to challenge viewers, where it trusts the audience to handle discomfort, ambiguity, and emotional complexity. And honestly, that's a good thing. Because while lighthearted anime will always have a place, romantic comedies, sports dramas, and fantasy adventures, there's something uniquely powerful about a story that makes you feel everything. That leaves you staring at your screen in silence when the credits roll. That stays with you days, weeks, even months later. That's what Seinen Dark does best, so if you haven't stepped into this world yet, now is the time. You don't need to be a longtime fan. You don't need to know every trope or every studio. All you need is the willingness to dive deep into stories that aren't afraid to go dark, and discover the truth that sometimes the most meaningful light is found in the shadows. Seinen Dark isn't just a trend. It's a movement. A style that dares to ask the hardest questions and portray the harshest realities, with artistry, emotion, and depth. And in doing so, it's redefining what anime can be. So whether you're a seasoned otaku, or someone just discovering anime for the first time, take this as your invitation. Or dive into Chainsaw Man, get lost in Jujutsu Kaisen, feel the devastation of Attack on Titan, question everything in Vinland Saga or Pluto. Let the darkness pull you in, and when it does, don't look away. Because sometimes, the most human stories are told in the darkest places.